Hello, guys. Welcome to our very last episode of exploring diverse perspective through word religion, belief systems with disciplines in social sciences. I am Jerome, and for today, ang pag-uusapan natin is ang mga dominant approaches and ideas sa social science. Of course, I am joined by Christine and Marjorie. So for our first topic, we will tackle the empirical analytical approaches in the micro level and macro level approach. This offers insights into the human behavior and decision-making processes. So, guys, what do you think is the symbolic interactionism?
So, symbolic interactionism focuses on how people give meaning to objects, interactions, and experiences, shaping their behaviors. It asks questions like how do individuals understand their actions and interactions? How do these experiences shape their sense of self? Communication plays a vital role here. An example of um, symbolic interaction can be seen in a way people perceive and interpret the concept of the money. While money itself is just a paper or a digital currency, it holds symbolic meaning behind its physical form. For instance, someone who grew up in a family where success is a highly valued which they can perceive money as a symbol of achievement and security. On the other hand naman, someone who experienced a financial hardship or grew in a community that prioritized non-material values may view money differently.
Well said. Yung binigay mong example about symbolic interactionism helps us understand how individuals interpret and assign meaning to the concept of money based on their social interactions and experiences, influencing their attitudes and behaviors towards it. So how about rational choice theory naman?
So, rational choice theory, on the other hand, explains individual behavior by looking at the cost and benefit of decisions. It suggests that people make choices to maximize benefit and minimize costs. So, it's about understanding why people make the decisions they do based on what they gain versus what they lose. So, imagine you're deciding whether to buy a new laptop. You consider the benefits like yung latest features, yung improved performance, and the cost, such as the price and if it fits your budget. So, yung rational choice theory suggests that you'll make the decision based on whether the benefits outweighs the cost. If the benefit seems worth the cost, you'll likely choose to buy the laptop. So, parang tinitignan mo talaga yung mga pros and cons.
Oh, so ganun pala yun. So basically, parang tinitimbang mo lang if worth it siya. Ganun. I see. Now, let's move on to empirical analytical approaches in the macro level analysis. So what about it?
So, structural functionalism views society as a system where various parts collaborate to maintain stability and cohesion. So, posing questions such as what keeps societies together and how social functions contribute to stability. So, additionally, it recognizes both intended, yung manifest, and unintended, which is latent, yun yung mga functions of social institutions. So, example is, imagine a small town where different institutions like schools, businesses, local government, they work together to maintain order and stability. So, yung school is the manifest function. Ang manifest function niya is to educate, while its latent function naman is to provide a meeting place for community members to socialize. So, similarly naman, local businesses provide goods and services. Yun yung manifest function niya. While also creating job opportunities and fostering economic growth, which is yun naman yung latent function.
At for the institutionalism naman, it is a broad approach in social science. It explores the differences between the old and new institutionalism and investigates how institutions influence the human behavior. These institutions can take the form of formal structures such as the laws and regulations, or formal ones like the cultural traditions or the norms. Consider a country with a written constitution, a formal constitution or institution that outlines the rights and responsibilities for its citizens. Alongside it, this formal structure, like there are informal institutions like the cultural traditions and norms that influence a behavior. For example, the formal institution of a law against littering is supported by the informal constitution of cultural norms that discourages littering through social pressure and community values.
Well said, Christine. Very interesting talaga yung subject na empirical analytical approach, di ba? So, it's fascinating to see how these different perspectives offer various insights into understanding societal dynamics. So, let's move forward naman to interdisciplinary approaches, macro level approach. So, can you tell me about it?
So, yung first is the human environment system approach. Ito yung interdisciplinary method that brings together knowledge from both social and natural science. It is to study the relationship between human and their environment. It seeks to integrate insights from various fields within a framework that examines how human systems interact with the environment and technological systems.
So, ang example nito is just take a look at how people affect the environment and how the environment affects the people. For example, when we burn fossil fuels, it releases gas that can harm the environment and can also change the climate. This in turn can affect where people can live or how they grow food. Understanding this connections help us to make better decisions to protect both the environment and of course us the people.
Yes, I agree with you. It studies the effects of people to environment and vice versa. With that, let's talk about the historical hermeneutic approaches.
We have the psychoanalysis, which is the theory that explains why people behave the way they do by looking at these three parts of their personality: the id or the id, the ego, and the superego.
So yan, the id is like our basic instincts or desires. So it operates on the pleasure principle, seeking immediate gratification of needs and desires without concern for consequences. So ang example nito is if, for example, you're hungry, the id might urge you to eat whatever food is available regardless of whether it's healthy or not.
The ego naman develops as we grow older and it helps us to navigate and the demands of the reality. It operates on the reality principle, balancing the desires of the ED with the constraints of the external world. It is like a mediator, kumbaga, between the ED and the superego, trying to satisfy the both without causing any harm. For instance, if you're hungry but in a meeting, the ego might prompt you to wait until it's appropriate to eat.
And for the very last naman is the super ego. So, represent nito yung internalized moral standards natin and values. So, it is often learned from authority figures like parents or society. It's like our conscience guiding us to behave in socially unacceptable ways and feel guilty when we don't. So, example lang is if you're tempted to steal something, like yung super ego natin might remind you that it's wrong and discourage you from doing it.
Ayan, so it helps us understand what shapes human behavior and how personality structure influences actions. I-add ko lang yung hermeneutic phenomenology is a way of studying people's experiences. There are two main types actually. Descriptive, which focuses on describe experiences as they are, and interpretative, which look at how experiences are interpreted within the cultural context. So it's both a method of studying experiences and beliefs that our understanding of experience is shaped by our cultural background. For the last approach naman, empirical critical approaches in the macro level.
So it's the Marxism. It is about the social conflict and the fight for resources, especially between different classes in the society. It focuses on how the way we as society make things that leads to conflict between the groups. The main classes involved are the working classes or the proletariat and the wealthy classes naman or yung bourgeoisie.
So, ang proletariat is sila yung working class who typically don't own much property or wealth. Yung, well naman yung bourgeoisie is yung sila yung wealthy class who owns businesses and control resources.
An example of Marxism can be seen in a relationship between workers and the business owners. In a capitalized society, the bourgeoisie or the business owners controls the means of production, such as the factories and resources, while the proletariat naman, or the workers, provide labor in exchange for the wages.
Okay, that's right. What about naman yung feminist theory?
So, feminist theory is about making things fair between men and women. So, meron tayong different types. The first one is liberal feminist. So, yung goal nila is they want women to have the same opportunities as men sa parts like jobs and educations. So, for instance, fighting for equal pay for equal work. So, second is radical feminists. They believe society favors men and they want big changes. So, ang example is protesting against violence towards women and yung nagdedemandang stricter laws. The very third is Marxist feminists. They see women's inequality tied to money and want to change the economic system.
And that wraps it up, guys, with our exploration of diverse perspective in the field of social science. We conclude from this episode and from our whole series of podcasts of world religions and belief systems with disciplines and social sciences. Let us remember the importance of embracing diversity and continue to explore and learn from different perspectives.
Always remember that the pursuit of knowledge knows no bounds, and the diversity of perspectives enriches our understanding of the world around us. Together, let's strive to create a more inclusive and compassionate society.
Thank you for embarking on this journey with us, and may our quest for knowledge and understanding continue to illuminate the path ahead for our watchers.
Thank you all so much for watching and listening to our podcast. Please like, follow, share, click the bell button, and don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel with other social media accounts. No more next episode!